Welcome back to Made for More. I am your host, Holly J. Moore. I am a lawyer who is passionate about helping all of us to use the difficult things in our life to grow and show up as the best version of ourselves. Aaron Bender, are you there?
I am all the time.
Yeah.
I'm just burned out. I'm over here crispy. I'm just crispy. I'm just editing all day. We have Lynn Blades on the show today, author of The Quiet Burn.
The Quiet Burn.
We have to do the entire episode like this. The Quiet Burn.
Okay.
No, so I'm curious though, as a lawyer, a very high-powered, very famous, very sought after, lots of cases all the time. How do you avoid burnout? Because it's not just about the lawyering, it's about the mothering and the wifing and the living.
I actually thought you were going to say, I'm very curious about why your mic is to the side.
Well, I was going to get there by suggesting that maybe the little things in life, like a giant zipper,
ding, ding, ding.
keep you from burnout.
Is the world's biggest zipper making you as happy as it is making me?
It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
It is so fun. Okay, back to your question. What was your question?
How do you avoid burnout?
Oh, I don't know. If you figure it out, let me know.
Well, we'll ask Lynn. Like Lynn, how do I avoid burnout? How have I been avoiding burnout?
Yeah, I mean, to be totally honest, this is probably a very wrong answer, but I was going to say, like, is it okay to say cocktails? I don't know. Is that an okay answer? We are joined today by Lynn Blades, author of The Quiet Burn. Lynn, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Holly. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So this really couldn't come at a better time for me. I don't know about anybody else in our audience, but I'm in a phase of my life where I'm like, yep, might be getting close to some burnout here. So it's really interesting how this episode came at that very time, because we are going to be talking about ambitious women and how to recognize and prevent burnout.
Indeed.
Okay, so what led you to write this book, The Quiet Burn?
Well, to be honest, there's nothing like experiencing something to make you an expert at it. And that is exactly what happened to me. I have an executive coaching consultancy, and I was scaling it before the pandemic. And I was working very hard. My clients are Fortune 100 to 500 companies and independent entrepreneurs who are quite successful. And I started experiencing some lower back pain, and I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, listen, you need to have some physical therapy. And I was like, you know what? Okay, that's nice, but I don't really have time to do it.
Yeah, who's got time for that?
Then the pandemic hit, and because my clients are global, I was very used to being online and having clients all over the world and being able to unite people in that way. And my business boomed. What I didn't count on is that, my family was going to need me even more than they usually would. And I was supporting all of these people across the globe and their teams at the same time. So there was an extra layer of pressure, even though I am ambitious and used to doing a lot of work. There was this extra layer of pressure that was on me to perform and to live up to my own expectations of what should be. And I was out walking one time when we had the freedom to go outside a little bit. And I could barely walk. And I thought to myself, something's really going on here. And essentially, long story short, I'd been ignoring all of that back pain. And I had to have emergency surgery because the two lowest discs in my back had deteriorated. And I ended up with a titanium cage and 3 3-inch screws in my back that are now supporting me. So
Wow.
I literally ignored all the signs, which was incredibly foolish. And so, of course, I started to recognize all of those signs in my clients, my female clients in particular, and how that they were just pushing through pain. High
Wow.
achievers pushing through pain, or women who were, when I say high achievers, that could be the housewife running, a big home, or working at the same time as raising her children, but I started noticing that these women were experiencing the same thing. And I just said, you know what? This has got to stop. Not that we just have to go, oh, we're experiencing burnout, but that we actually need to rewire our brains to prioritize our needs. Because if we don't look after ourselves, the whole foundation cracks.
Right. So when you, as you sit there today, when you look back, were there signs, were there red flags that you actually, like you were physically deteriorating?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Duh.
Yeah, there were tons of signs. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, over the course of probably 3 or 4 years, my back was getting worse and worse. I started having pains up my legs. I started,
Yeah.
having trouble sitting up and sleeping at night. I had
Right.
all kinds of aches and, body pains that come with your back not being, supported correctly. So,
Yeah.
I just ignored those things. Okay, so maybe I took my high heels off and put on flat shoes and thought that was going to make a difference. I continued to work
Yeah.
out in ways that I'm sure were not good for my back, thinking, oh, this is
Mm.
going to help. But it just got worse and worse. But I just didn't slow down. I didn't
Right.
slow down because I just had these expectations of myself. I really honestly thought I was Superwoman. But of course, we all know that Superwoman is a cartoon character. She does not
Yes.
exist.
Superwoman is a myth, I think, as your book says.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, I mean, I would imagine there's a certain, like a lot of people have experienced burnout, but you actually took the time and the intention to write a book about it. So what was it about your experience that was so compelling that you actually wrote this book, which is really good. I read it, highly recommend it.
Thank you. I think when you are down and out and you are physically injured and unable to, live your life in a normal way, which is exactly what happened to me. I was really incapable of working properly, living a normal life for almost a year. I literally was on nerve blockers, 1,800 milligrams of nerve blockers for about 6 months. And that's a lot of time for you to process things. And what
Yeah.
I was processing is that my expectations of myself were completely unrealistic. They were not human. And I start to think, why do I think like this? Why do I think I have to behave as if I am superhuman? And it really goes back to your childhood. What we teach our girls, what they see. They
Yeah.
see us looking after everybody else. They
Mm.
see us not prioritizing our needs. They see us going above and beyond. And that is the EQ of a woman, is to nurture and to build relationships and to make sure that everything is all right. Then you add ambition on top of that, wanting to achieve. And
Mhm.
that's when you start to really push through the pain. I also was an all American swimmer, so I was
Mm.
used to physically pushing through pain. And that
Interesting.
became my reality. It's like, oh, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And that's
Yes.
what you start to think. So it was conditioning over a long period of time and thinking that, just put your head down, work hard, you're going to be rewarded. These these things are myths. I mean, yes,
Mm.
that does happen sometimes, but a lot of times that does not happen. You just
Yeah.
work and work, and somebody else might even get credit for your work. So I
Yeah.
just realized that we are trained in such a way that is not really beneficial to our longevity or our mental health and well-being. And
Right.
that pissed me off.
Yes, I mean rage is an amazing source of fuel.
You
um,
bet it is. You bet it
yes,
is.
So, but as I'm sitting there listening to you, I'm like, oh no, uh-oh, I may be parenting all wrong because, I was an athlete growing up. And, that's a very interesting concept that through athletics, through sports, through working out, through wanting to challenge yourself in the physical realm, you do really get used to pushing through the pain, and that's sort of
You
a
do.
sense of pride. And I'm thinking about all the times where I tell my kids, I have 3 daughters, all the times I'm telling them, this or that is really good practice to push through the pain or do something hard or have grit, have resilience. I mean, should I not be saying that? Should I not be doing that?
It's really it's funny that you should say this thing because I have a daughter as well, and I look back and think of the things that I have told her.
Yeah,
Listen, sometimes you do have to push through pain. Let's get real.
right, right. I mean,
Sometimes,
life is hard.
yeah, life is hard. And also, you have to think that women naturally push through pain. We give birth.
Yes, we literally push through the pain.
We literally push through pain. So
Yeah,
we know what that experience is and
right.
how that feels. And we know that we recover from it and that we continue to go. So it is
Yes,
kind of that basic. But
yes.
what you can't do is consistently push through pain
Mm,
because you won't be able to sustain that. And what we really need to be striving for is sustainable vitality. You
mm,
must listen to your intuition, to the signs. We ignore the signs. We know
yeah,
things are going wrong, and we go, I'm going to slow down as soon as this happens, or when this person comes back, or when that project is done, I'm going to really look after, I'm going to take a couple days off. It's like, guess what? By the time you get to that point, you are so worn out, and you think like 3 days off is going to do the trick, or I'm going to go to the
right.
spa for, a
Yeah,
week. No, when you get to a certain point, the recovery, could last you up to a year, maybe
right.
even more.
Yeah.
And I've had
So,
clients who have, suffered and have post-traumatic stress, go into another job and the same thing happens again, or they hit that level and they go, I can't do it, and they leave.
right. Yes, yes.
It's really a serious thing. 42% of all working women are in some stage of burnout. And if you are
Right.
in a leadership position, that goes up to 53%. And if you're a woman of color, that goes up to 56%. That's
Mm,
insane. It is the biggest thing knocking us out of big business, burnout, and it's costing the global economy 322 billion pounds a year. And we're
wow.
still using it as a catchphrase.
With these statistics, I mean, while I was reading your book, well, certainly it's geared towards women, correct?
Yes.
But is burnout more uniquely associated with women than it is for men?
Yes. Yes. We experience it at a much more significant rate than men do. Um,
Okay, and
yeah,
why is that?
because we've got the dual aspects of it. So we're,
Yeah.
at work, we're professional women, we're coming home and we are responsible for the primary caregiving at home. And then there could be extra caregiving layer on top of that. So we're multitasking across the board.
Yes.
And that's just a societal thing. We're expected to multitask across the board. But the thing is, I don't really believe in multitasking, and I certainly don't believe in martyrdom. Forget it.
Mhm.
That nearly broke my back, literally. So
Right.
that's never going to happen again. I do believe in prioritizing and delegating. So there's always going to be someone who's better than you at something. And I
Yeah.
am not striving for perfection. Perfection does not exist. For all of you perfectionists out there, stop, because
Right.
perfection does not exist. It is a
Mhm.
fool's pursuit. Being
Yes.
also understanding when you are enough and
Mm.
when something is good enough.
Mhm.
That is critical to be able
Yes.
to let go. And so when you are able to delegate and say, "Hey, you go do that," not only does it, take that off your plate, but it also empowers someone else to do what they're good at
Right.
because you're not going to be good at everything. So I play to my strengths. I believe in playing to my strengths, not my weaknesses. And
Right.
that gives me a much more level playing field because I can
Yes.
give things away. Also, letting go of control.
Yes.
Thinking that the world will fall apart if you step away for a while
Right.
is not smart thinking. No, the world will
Right.
not fall apart if you step away. If you have a break, if you regenerate, it's still going to keep going. And you'll be
Yeah.
able to step back in and be so much better at what you do because you have replenished. You've
Right.
refilled your cup. So it makes
Yes.
sense.
Right. So I want to dig deeper into those things, but before we do that, I one of the passages in your book, maybe because I'm like, wow, that sounds a lot like me right now. But okay, so I'm just gonna read it. It says, "Fear clings to you, and you yearn for a way out. How do you navigate a sea of ash when there is no solid ground beneath you? Everything feels unstable and impermanent. Trapped in isolation, helplessness. Oh my gosh, this is depressing. And deep sadness, escape seems unattainable." If you're feeling those feelings, I mean, is that the signal that, okay, you are approaching burnout? How do we know when we are approaching burnout?
Well, that's real. That's when you're really at a very high level. So those early signs, I mean, that is when you are apathetic.
Yeah,
You can't see. You cannot
right,
see. But some of the early signs would be that, say you get up in the morning and you're like, I don't want to get out of bed.
yeah,
As simple as that. I don't feel like I want to go to work.
hmm,
Sometimes it manifests itself as brain fog, and I'm not talking menopausal brain fog. I'm like, you just can't seem to remember things
right,
properly. Perhaps you have withdrawn socially or you have withdrawn at work. Things that used to bring you joy do not bring you joy. When you're unable to finish things or do things, complete things that you were once very good at and able to do quite quickly, then there's the physical things like having migraines, physical pain, back pain, um, any kinds of malaise, if you find yourself calling in sick regularly,
yeah,
and general apathy. That's a big sign. Feeling the feeling of overwhelm, of big exhaustion,
yeah,
overwhelmingly exhausted, no matter how much rest you actually manage to get. And sometimes people, when they feel that way, even ask for more. They take on more because they
oh.
they feel like I
They feel
have
like
to,
that's the antidote?
yes, like I consistently need to prove myself. I need to prove it to myself. I need to prove it
Right,
to my boss. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. When actually they're just completely deplenishing themselves.
right. So in your book, you use the phrase burnt toast. So that's what it says on my cup. I thought I had it tagged, but I can't find it. But you talk about how, a woman will come before you and you're like, yes, you look like burnt toast. And when you say that, are these all the things that you're seeing in that person?
It's that metaphor. It's a metaphor for, what burnt toast is. Put a piece of toast in, we leave it in a little bit too long, and then but it's salvageable. So we just
Yeah,
like
right.
scrape it off and slather the butter and jam on top
Yes.
of it. It's all good. But
Right.
you can only do that so many times until it turns into just crumbs.
Right.
And
Yes.
Holly, I'm sure you've seen women that look like that or people that look like that. It's just like,
Mhm.
okay, it's just one step beyond. You've just popped yourself into that toaster one time too many. And
One too many times.
you're falling
Yes.
apart at the seams. So, it's a metaphor for that. Just
Right.
actually. being burnt to a crisp, turning into a crumb, dissolving into ash. And
Yes.
we've all seen it. And, a
Mhm.
lot of us have actually just been there and just know what it's like trying to pick yourself up off the ground. And it
Right.
seems impossible. How do you put yourself back together when you let yourself disintegrate to that point?
Right. So how do you? What's the answer?
Well, the first thing is stop ignoring the signs, okay?
Mm-hmm.
When you feel that way, don't feel guilty about asking for help.
Sounds so
We
easy.
see, but the thing is, yes, I know it's hard because that is not our nature. That
Right.
is not the nature of a woman. We don't naturally like to ask for help because it makes us look weak or incapable. And there's enough of society that says you are weak and you're incapable and you need
Right.
help. We don't, especially ambitious women, don't want to do that, or highly productive women don't want to ask for help. Other people feel like if they don't say yes, they're not deemed to be a team player, or that someone else is going to get the opportunity instead of them. So that's the taking on more. I'll do more. I will say
Yeah.
yes, even though no is really trying to escape my lips. That
Right.
beautiful, beautiful word that means
Right.
respect and boundaries. We just we just somehow let yes come out.
We want to say no. It's like, yes.
Yes. And then it's just like this albatross around your neck because you have
Mm,
not learned to say no. And
right.
I mean, what don't you understand? Your inner voice is saying, this is no good for you. That's when you have to stop and say, what's the benefit of me saying yes?
Mm,
What is the benefit of me, putting myself forward?
right.
What do I get out of it?
Yeah.
We don't ask that question nearly enough.
Mm,
What do I get out of it? So when
mm,
you see yourself getting there and your edges are getting frayed, the first
yeah.
thing you need to do is to open up your mouth and say, I need some help. Find
Okay.
somebody you trust.
Yeah.
Say, listen, I'm suffering. I'm finding I'm finding myself in a difficult period of time. And
Yeah.
if you're going to your leader or someone you're directly reporting to and saying that, you're not just saying, I need some time off. You're saying, I need some time off, and when I come back, we need to discuss my workload.
Yeah, that is one of the questions that I had, and you kind of mentioned, going to the spa, and taking time off. I mean, sometimes it seems like maybe that feels good in the moment, but it sort of just adds to the workload when you come back. So it's like, oh gosh, I would have been better off not taking the time off. So
It's
how do
it,
we
it
navigate that?
it's really it's a funny thing, and it's a cycle. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
burnout has long-term consequences, and that's the thing that we can't ignore. So it literally rewires your brain. That
Mm-hmm.
chronic stress has an impact on every part of your brain and every part of your body.
Wow.
And that's not just bad for an individual, it's bad for business as well,
Right.
because you're getting into this pattern of behavior and then it weakens your immune system.
Mm.
It takes you much longer to recover because you have not been taking care of yourself all along the way. It
Yeah.
kills your creativity, it drives disconnection, and it kind of you get into this pattern of a busy but broken workplace behavior.
Mm.
And it essentially normalizes dysfunction.
Huh.
So
Wow.
it's it's a very serious thing, but we don't pay attention to it. And also what we don't pay attention to, especially right now in the history of the world, there's so much chaos around us
Yeah.
that whether we are watching the news or not, we cannot escape that chaos and
You can't
feel.
escape it. Yeah.
You can't help but feel that external pressure and chaos on top of your everyday busy.
Yeah.
So it's like extra. It's
Right.
it's like we're in extra mode, which
Yeah.
is pretty insane.
It is. Are we statistically, are we more burned out than ever, or are more people burned out than ever?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're in a crisis mode. We are.
Wow.
We are in a
Oh my
crisis mode.
goodness.
And
Okay.
that's also part of, the reason why I wrote the book is because I could just feel that we're in a crisis mode.
Right. Wow. Okay. Okay, so we were back to the solutions. How do we get out of this crisis mode?
Stop, stop, first of all.
Mm,
Stop and listen to the body whispers.
mm,
Pay attention. Don't ignore what your body, your mind, your soul, your emotions, don't ignore what they're telling you. You know,
yeah.
we were born with intuition, and women
Mm,
have great intuition. It's a
yeah.
gift. Pay attention to it. That's
Yeah.
the first thing. The second thing is learning how to say no without guilt.
Mm,
You have got to be able to say no unapologetically.
yeah.
Set those boundaries and just say, I'm not having any of it. When you know your body and you know your mind is saying, I can't cope.
Right.
I can't do that. You don't you want to say no before that, to be honest. You don't want to get to that point where, you're just kind of falling apart. You want to say no when your intuition says no. You know.
Right.
Also, I think
Yeah.
you have to schedule breaks like your life depends on it. So that means opening up your
Mm,
diary, and it doesn't have to be this big long-term, break. Even if you take 15-minute breaks 3 times a day, even if
mhm.
you get up and move your body and go outside and connect with nature, take a walk around the block, observe people, don't eat lunch at your desk, all of those little things that
Right.
seem mundane and ordinary make a difference,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
because we don't do that, do those things. Also, I think when you start your day with an intention that I am
Yeah.
going to look after myself today, I'm going to prioritize me. And when I prioritize me, that means that everybody that needs me is going to get a better me. You're
Yeah.
starting out in a much more positive mindset. You're going to be
Right.
better off.
Yeah, I
You,
think
you
that was
are.
one of the interesting things in your book that resonated with me that I was like, "Oh, that's a great point." Was you talk about sort of resetting daily. I think we sometimes, or I guess I'll just speak for myself, it's like you're going, 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 you go weeks or months, and then you're like, oh shoot, like I probably need a break. Or maybe I'm going too hard. And then it's like, but this notion of resetting daily, I think would be really helpful.
It is, and it's a simple thing, and for me, it's meditating. So I like to meditate in the evening before I go to
Mm,
sleep, and
okay.
I just know that I'm going to wake up feeling better for it. I'm going to have a better night's sleep. I can just kind of decompress and let all of anything that's negative and anything that's positive just kind of put itself in its place, and I can rest myself and
Yeah.
feel good when I wake up. And I do ask myself in the morning, how do you feel? Are you gonna,
Yeah.
what does the day look like? Is it all in order? You know,
Hmm.
you don't know what's going to not be in order or what might hit you, the unexpected, but am I prepared to deal with that? Do I feel like I can cope? And also, I'm really make sure that I protect my focus and my time. So that's time management, essentially,
Mm,
making
hmm.
sure that when I am focused, I am very focused,
Yeah.
so that my energy is being used properly. And when
Right.
and that is also when I am focused on being mindful or taking time
Hmm.
out. I actually just go, I'm going to be still because I need to be still. And a great example of that is I I have a proper business. I run a proper
Yeah.
business. People depend on me.
Right.
And I knew I'd be promoting my book in at the same time as running my business. And I really had to go, I can't be that woman pimping the Burnout book and being crispy.
That's true. That's a good point. Yes.
So, it's just you have to actually manage your time properly and go, this is
Yeah.
so important.
Right.
Being prioritizing me and
Yeah.
treating sleep like it is an investment.
Right.
We
Yes.
need sleep. We need sleep.
Yes.
I don't
Right.
know about you, but I need sleep. you
Yes.
know, and the older
Okay.
I get,
Well,
the more I need sleep.
speaking of sleep, I know it's almost your bedtime. You're in London, so I want to be respectful of your sleep. So I have one last question for you.
Okay.
Um, you mentioned, if you wake up and you feel like I don't want to get out of bed, and you check in with yourself, how am I feeling? And I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling the day. I'm not really vibing. Give us a practical thing or two that we could do when we wake up feeling like I'm not ready to tackle this day.
The first thing I would recommend is to actually do some deep breathing. So the 4-6-4. So in for 4, hold for 6, out for 4. So just to take everything down and to calm yourself. Then I'd ask myself the question again, how do I feel? Is there any clarity there? Do I feel like I can cope? If I do feel like I can cope, the next thing I do is I get up and I get some exercise. Physical exercise is amazing what it can do for
Yeah.
you. You get those endorphins going, even if it's simply taking, a 10-minute walk, whatever works for you. And I'm not saying just put one foot in front of the other. Get some physical exercise because it will really help your head. And of course, it
Right.
will really also help your body. So those are the two things I would start with. And if you have the time, if you are the person who wakes up a little bit early and is a bed lingerer, any kind of mantra. My mantra, I have a mantra and I say it every day, and that is, I am a force for good, I am a force for change, and I am a force to be reckoned with. And I tell myself that every day.
Yes. And that is basically in the forefront of your book. And I saw that and I took a picture of it like right before we started because I said, I love that. I want to remember that. So I
Yeah.
think that's the perfect place to end is you are a force for good, you are a force for change, and you are a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I reckon you are too, Holly.
Thank you, Lynn. And thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I've got just a little bit more to say. So I love the phrase that Lynn used, sustainable vitality. And, we talk a lot about being made for more and doing these great things and living up to your highest potential, but it does have to be sustainable. And I think in this day and age, we are all so busy, no matter what you're doing, no matter if you stay home with your kids, no matter if you run a Fortune 500 company. I mean, life is just so busy that I think everyone, particularly women, can relate to feelings of burnout. And the goal truly is doing something that is sustainable. So my big takeaways are, do not ignore the signs. Don't wait until your back is literally broken and you have to be put back together with hardware before you take the time. And I'm literally talking to myself probably more than anybody else. Just don't ignore the signs. And when I asked her, what is the practical tip? And she literally told us breathing. I in my head, I thought, yes, it literally starts with the most basic function of our bodies, our breathing. And that's something that we can all do. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't ignore the signs. No is a complete and unapologetic sentence. And I think we could all be well served by just starting off the day focusing on our breathing because we are all made for more. Do you want to know a fun fact about all my wealthiest clients, what they have in common?
Absolutely, yes.
They all own actual gold bars.
Wait, but like actual,
Actual
those
gold
giant
bars.
Scrooge McDuck bars?
So they don't, so in real life, and I actually know this, well, I actually know this because I own some gold bars, but I also actually know this because one of my last things that I did for my most favorite client of all times, but he was also the most wealthiest client I had ever represented, is the last thing I did in his divorce was deliver to him his portion of the gold bars that had been in the safety deposit box at the bank.
Whoa.
And yeah, and so, you always think of gold bars as like on, like what Scrooge had on the cartoons. They don't actually look like that. But it's true. All my wealthiest clients actually own gold bars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of the best investments over time is gold. And that's where Birch Gold comes in, can help you roll over your IRA into gold or silver. Much more about that in the link in our show notes.
A prenuptial agreement, or sometimes called a premarital agreement, is an agreement that two parties enter into before they get married that basically chooses to deviate from state law. It assigns rights and responsibilities regarding assets and debts that are acquired during the marriage. Some common misconceptions about prenups are, one, that they basically doom the marriage to failure, or that it's really planning to divorce, and neither of those things are true. But the real value of a prenup is talking about and creating rules around how the things that you acquire during the marriage are going to be characterized. A prenup can protect things like art collections, real estate portfolios, businesses, all those types of assets. The ideal timeline to get a prenup is not 2 weeks before the wedding. The final version of a prenup has to be presented to the parties 7 days before they actually sign it. So there's like a 7-day waiting period. As soon as you get engaged, you should seek a lawyer's advice and counsel on a prenup and start the process then, because the closer the prenup is signed to the wedding, the more likely that the court is going to think there was some sort of duress involved in that person signing it, and they have to prove that the prenup was signed voluntarily in order for them to be enforced. At Moore Family Law Group, we represent a lot of high-profile people, celebrities, professional athletes, business tycoons. If you already have a lot of assets, or you think you're going to be acquiring a lot of assets during your marriage, we are the best ones to protect that for you and help you make your marriage stronger. Call Moore Family Law Group today.